had about this tower, there was a comparison made to the tower being not that much different from the electrical poles. Well, I went home, and I actually have a home that sits on the ridge top, higher up, a little bit higher up than this spot. This spot that we're talking about falls directly in my view shed, which that's what makes the property special, is the amazing views that it does have. And I noticed that, comparing electrical poles to this tower, completely inaccurate comparison. There's not, as it was pointed out before, this tower will be a big impact on the view shed. And the electrical poles do not. They are not against the skyline. It's just not a good comparison. I did not hear it made today, that comparison, but it was before that, well, you already have electric poles. This is a tower. And also, it's my other point before, again, was that it's to no benefit of any of us that will be the most impacted by it. We all have cell phone service. That entire road, that entire stretch of Black Bar Trail has service. For most people do have Edge up there. We thank Edge for that we do have good service. It's to no benefit of us. And it does sound like this small intersection on Highway 20, the two people that came and spoke about it in support of, it won't be in their view, but they drive through that intersection every day, and they want to have service at that intersection. But it sounds like this won't solve the problem entirely. So it'll only be a matter of time before another tower has to go up near there that will completely fill in the holes that this one won't do entirely. So, I just wanted to make that comment. Not good comparisons. It's a tower. The screening will not make a difference because, as it's been pointed out, the tower is completely exposed. There's not a lot of vegetation on that ridge top. So the screening's not going to make any difference. There's nothing to screen it with or camouflage it with. It's just an exposed ridge. So that's all. Thanks. Do you have any questions about anything? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Next speaker is Sharon Norton, followed by Nadia Borincinco. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it.
Hello. Thank you for listening to me. I live on Black Bart Trail. I live above, almost directly across from where the cell tower will be put up. And it sounds like that Edge makes it sound like you can barely see it, where it will be. It's directly in front of our view shed. I noticed, I was driving on Highway 5, and there's a bunch of cell towers over there, and you see them around you high up on top of the hills. But why put one in our neighborhood? I understand that when you own a piece of property, that you want to be able to do what you want on your own property, and I respect that. But I think that there's a better location for this that maybe that they could find that doesn't involve our neighborhood. And I just think that view is not a welcome thing for us. And as far as Highway 20, if there is an emergency down in that area, there's homes down there, right at that intersection. I mean, for the emergency status, there's probably, I think, 4 on one side and one that's sitting right on the corner, not too far from that intersection right there. So I would think in an emergency type situation that we would be able to get to one of those homes or something to make a call. But anyway, so I am opposed to it, and I hope you consider that and have compassion for us.
Thank you. Nadia, followed by Eric Holtz.
Hi. I previously brought a photo to show you exactly where our land was in view of this proposed tower site. I think you might have it in all of the paperwork. But I'm going to kind of reiterate what I said on all of the previous meetings. Thanks again for your time today, and I do appreciate being able to talk about this. Seems like cell towers are going up everywhere, and it's proliferating our area, and it seems quite excessive. And the tower site has moved and is now even located closer to where we live. We're directly across the street, within hundreds of feet of where we live. So it's really close. We'll be driving by it every day and looking at it every day. And as I've mentioned, I've done a lot of research. In my research, I found that legislation needs to be updated, and scientific studies haven't had adequate time to understand the impacts yet. Recently, I noticed countless news studies and articles about the concerns where people around the world are getting together and multiplying. The European Environmental Agency has called for an immediate action to reduce exposure to radiation from Wi-Fi, mobile phones, and their masts, stating that the health effects are on par of those of asbestos, smoking, and lead poisoning. Towns like Mendocino now have hot spots from Wi-Fi and cell towers, and if you walk the street there with an iPhone, you can watch the Wi-Fi repeat from spot to spot with the new devices that are attached to services, and it's become a web over the whole town. So people are a little bit upset. In fact, they're infuriated by that because those hotspots basically bathe people in radiation. And as I've mentioned before, the wireless cellular industry is multi-billion-dollar. They don't care about the headaches, the cancer clusters, the leukemia, these studies about children with developing skulls that are susceptible to cancer and cellular disruption. And we're going to raise a family there. We just moved there. We moved there to get away from all of this. And not only will the tower be an unnatural eyesore, but nobody who I know would even consider living near this. So we know it will devalue our property and remind us of the industry we moved here to get away from. And it will also create fear from our not knowing what the effects may have on us. And why aren't these concerns of any value when we come to court? Because the industry is clearly in violation of our First Amendment rights. They've created a clause, a provision, which says we aren't allowed to talk about the health risks. And in the beginning, when the industry couldn't get what they wanted through the FCC, they realized they had to get Congress to do the work. And the industry knew the RF frequencies rarely won approval at the local level when the health card was played. I know I have a little bit of time left, but hopefully I can continue on since the first part was a little slower. But they rarely won approval at the local level, and so they couldn't get the FCC to override local zoning, and they had to get it off the table somehow. So without that provision, we aren't allowed to talk about it, the telecom industry would not be able to get into our backyards. And it was the first way to decrease federal deficit. Hunt and the Clinton administration came to see the role of the FCC as an extension of the economy, with a mandate to foster competition. In any event, as you can see, I'm not really for this whole project, and people around the world, I think, are realizing the same thing. And even the International Association of Firefighters, they oppose the use of cell towers on their sites now until a study is.
Giving you an extra minute here.
Okay, yeah. So in any event, if you go to the American Cancer Society site, they say they don't have enough information yet. And we moved here to live in nature. We want to live outside of the industrial networks, not to live with them on the, perched on our hillside right across our street.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Next speaker, Eric Holtz, followed by Andre Borisenko.
I'm Eric Holtz. I live right above where the cell site is, and I just want to make a few points because I have been up here before. And as far as frequency goes with their cell phone, obviously their frequency doesn't work because U.S. Cellular's frequency works great down on Highway 20 and all the way up it. Obviously they're trying to push something, and their technology changes so fast, they're going to have to build cell towers every 10 feet to keep up with the technology they're trying to change. And the other thing is they didn't go up the road to get higher because there's no power up there. It will cost them more money to put it up there. And they never even bothered to talk to people above the site to ask their opinion to begin with. We don't even